Hello, Dave Moore here with PITC, and today we're going to be going over the testing procedure for a DCVA. The DCVA that we're going to be testing today is a ZURN Wilkins 950 XLT2. The first step to any test that we do is we flush our test cocks to clear any debris from in there so it doesn't go through your gauge. Once we've flushed our test cocks, we take our high hose and connect it to test cock number 2. The first test that we do on a DCVA is checking our pressure differential across check 1, which is our spring tension. We have a minimum spring tension on check 1 on a DCVA of 1 psi, so we must maintain above 1 psi for 2 minutes. I'm going to pressurize and bleed my gauge. So I've pressurized and bled my gauge. I'm going to isolate my device. And then I'm going to open up test cock number 3. Again, we must maintain above 1 psi for 2 minutes. We are maintaining at 2.2 psi, so that would be recorded as a pass. So we're going to shut our test cocks and move on to the next test of this device. I'm going to take our high hose from test cock number 2 and move it to test cock number 3. We're going to re-establish pressure within our device. And then again, pressurize and bleed our gauge. Once we've bled our gauge, we're going to isolate our device. And the next test we do on a DCVA is we check valve number 2 in forward, and we check 1 in reverse. Check valve number 2, just as check valve number 1 had, is a 1 psi minimum spring tension. So again, we need to hold above 1 psi for 2 minutes. I'll open up test cock number 4, which is now showing our pressure differential across check 2. And I'm going to open at the same time test cock number 2. So now we have 2 psi in forward, pushing on check 2, and we have 2 psi in reverse, pushing against check 1 in reverse. Again, if we hold constant for 2 minutes, this is recorded as a pass, and we move on to the next step of our test. We're going to shut our test cocks. We're going to take our high hose and move it from test cock number 3 and put it onto test cock number 4. We're again going to re-establish pressure within our device and pressurize and bleed our gauge. Once we've bled our gauge, we're going to isolate our device. And the last test that we do on our DCVA is checking check valve number 2 and reversal of flow. To do this, we're going to open up test cock number 3. And we're going to, with our needle valve, drop our gauge to an observable level. Again, we must hold a constant pressure for 2 minutes. If we do this, this is recorded as a pass. We close our test cocks, remove our gauge, and return the device back to service.